My name's Kai, and I'm an American expat living in Germany. I've been living here for 5 years so far, and I'm really happy to be here. And I have to say that I'm not planning to return to the US. In this video, I'd like to share some of the reasons, both big and small, why I'm staying in Germany. Los geht's! My decision to stay in Germany may be surprising to some. After all, I spent many decades of my life living in the US. But considering the current situation there, I'm sure many of you might understand why I have no desire to go back. However, for me, the reasons I left the US came down to a lot more than just politics. While that definitely played a big part, there were a lot of things that pushed me away from the US and led me to settle in Germany. Now you might be thinking, well, maybe he just missed seeing some of the best parts of the US. So let me just say that during my time in the US, I lived in multiple towns and cities on both coasts and had the chance to visit almost every single state. And while I still do appreciate some things about the places I lived and the experiences I had in the US, living there just never quite felt right to me. Basically, I needed to live in a place that better matched my values. Things like honesty, integrity, transparency, and fairness have always been important to me. And these things seem to be in short supply in the US, especially now. I also wanted to have a calmer life where diversity, community, and creativity were embraced. And ideally, I wanted to live somewhere where the natural environment is actually valued and protected. Some of my least favorite things about American culture have always been its focus on competition and wealth, and its blind arrogance toward the rest of the world.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm the smartest guy in the world? Says who?
The IQ test you took in prison. You got the highest score in history. Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Yeah, dumbass. You're even smarter than President Camacho. That's how come he's making you Secretary of Interior.
Okay, so who are you?
I'm the Secretary of Energy.
You won a contest, got to be a cabinet member.
I also found the country to be way too individualistic and even chaotic at times. So for all of these reasons and more, I decided to leave the US for good. Now you may think, this guy's crazy. He actually thinks that Germany is better than the US. No way, how can that be? Just look at Germany's history and all the movies showing heartless, cruel, and unfeeling Germans barking orders at everyone.
Meet the boom, meet the bing bang, bing bang, boom! Oh, haben Sie gehört?
Halt! No, no, no! And yes, of course, there's no denying that Germany has a very dark past. But what many Americans may not realize is that Germany today is a much different country. It definitely hasn't forgotten its history, and it continues to make efforts to learn and grow from the horrors of the past. And from the ashes of this history, they've built a much kinder and much more aware social democracy. As for all of the stereotypes about the German people, I have to say that the majority of these are completely false. Yes, it could be said that many Germans like rules, organization, and structure, but that doesn't mean that they're horrible people. In fact, I think Germans are some of the nicest people I've ever met. And it's a genuine niceness. It's not fake or phony or designed to hide ulterior motives. You see, Germans will show you exactly how they're feeling. And I find that refreshing. When I lived in the US, I got so sick of the way some Americans present a phony kind of niceness. I also got sick of all the focus on looks and superficiality in the US. That too is not really a thing here in Germany. So yeah, the way many Americans may think of Germany and the German people simply does not match the reality. The fact is that my life in Germany is simply better than my life in the US ever was. It really comes down to a better overall quality of life. And there are many elements that contribute to that. First of all, transportation is better in Germany. In the US, I always lived a very car-dependent lifestyle that was mostly focused on work. It was all very suburban and isolated. Now, in Germany, I live car-free in downtown Berlin where I can easily walk to everything. And one of the best things about living in Germany is the easy access I have to public transport and travel throughout Europe. Next, I have to say that in the US, I constantly felt stressed out. It always seemed like everyone around me was in a rush, and everything was very loud too. Now, even though I live in downtown Berlin, things are much quieter and calmer compared to the US cities I lived in before. And I simply feel a lot safer here. In the US, I'm afraid that was not the case. But here in Germany, violence is not something that I spend my time worrying about. And the news isn't constantly reporting on violent crime, since that's really rare here. So, since moving here, I feel much more relaxed. Also, I find the food is way better here. In the US, I had to pay a premium for food that was only moderately good quality. In Germany, the food is often much more affordable, and almost always much higher quality since it isn't pumped full of chemicals. At first, I have to admit, I was worried that there wouldn't be enough food options in Germany compared to the US. Would I be stuck eating bread and sausages every day? But I'm happy to report that most German cities, and especially Berlin, have a wide variety of quality food from all around the world to choose from. Now, living car-free, feeling safe with less stress, and having access to great food are all great things, of course. But there are many other things that I also love about Germany. For example, I love how there are farmers markets in the downtowns of every city. I love how the cities here aren't just a place for young and middle-aged people, but that every day I see children playing in neighborhood playgrounds, and the elderly are out and about enjoying everything the city has to offer too. In US cities, on the other hand, I rarely saw children playing outside or elderly people walking around. I also love that I can get all of the same entertainment here that I could in the US. I was really worried that I might have no choice but to watch everything in German here.
Sofort in ein Krankenhaus gebracht werden.
Ein Krankenhaus? Was ist es?
Ein großes Gebäude mit Patienten, aber das ist nicht so wichtig.
And while that's a great way to improve your language skills and increase cultural understanding, I thought I'd miss out on some of my favorite series and films. When I lived here as a child, I remember my father had to get friends in the US to send us recordings of American programming to watch. Luckily, that's not a thing anymore. When it comes to entertainment, Germany has pretty much everything that the US has. The last smaller thing that I want to mention is how much I love seeing so many historic buildings and sites here. Many of these buildings are also quite beautiful, and it's just awesome to be surrounded by history spanning hundreds of years. So I've already mentioned many of the things in day-to-day life that make life better for me here in Germany compared to the US. But there are also things on a larger societal scale that contribute to a better quality of life here. First of all, in Germany, there's just a better work-life balance. For example, most companies here offer 30 days of vacation per year. That's 6 weeks. And that's 3 times more than the measly 2 weeks I remember from the US. Living here, I've seen how much Germans really enjoy their holidays, and they know how to make the most out of all that time off. Beyond that, workers are just treated better here. For example, the current federal minimum wage here is 13 euros per hour, and it's set to go up to 15 euros per hour in the next couple of years. In the US, the minimum wage has been stuck at $7.25 per hour since 2009, though some states have higher rates. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of all of the benefits and protections that workers get here. Not only are workers treated here better than in the US, but there's also strong support for families. For example, if you have a child in Germany, the mother gets 14 weeks of paid leave, and both parents get 3 years of paid leave that they can take as they see fit. From my understanding, in the US, mothers get 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave, and fathers get nothing. So it seems clear to me that family holds much more value here in Germany. Support for workers and families also extends into the healthcare system. Germany has universal healthcare, and everyone here has health insurance by law. And most people here have public health insurance, which is very affordable and pretty much covers everything. This is in a stark contrast to the US, where health insurance is very expensive and inaccessible to many. In Germany, no one is forced to file for bankruptcy just to cover their medical costs. Another major benefit for people in Germany is the education system. Specifically, higher education here is tuition free. Yes, you heard that right, tuition free. Student debt simply doesn't exist here. Man, I wish I would have moved here a long time ago before I took on student debt in the US that I will probably never pay off. As I mentioned earlier, many Germans really seem to care about the environment. For example, when traveling around Germany, you'll notice wind turbines and solar panels are everywhere. In fact, wind and solar power currently makes up 43% of all electricity produced. In the US, these renewable sources of energy only account for 17% of total electrical output. And another difference with electricity here in Germany is that the majority of power lines are underground. So cities look much nicer, and the power doesn't go out every time there's a storm. It's really nice not to have to worry about power outages anymore. Also, Germans strongly support recycling, with almost 70% of waste being recycled here. The US recycles only half as much. Lastly, I want to mention that the downtowns of most German cities are designated as low emission zones. This means that only vehicles that meet certain low pollution emission standards are even allowed to drive in the downtowns. I suspect to even propose such a thing in the US these days might get you thrown in prison or deported. Wow, that was a very long list, but I think it shows how Germany is just better on many fronts. So at least for me, Germany comes out way ahead of the US. And really, this just scratches the surface. So there you have it. Those are the main reasons I'm staying in Germany and not moving back to the US. For me, my quality of life here is way better than it ever was there. Still, I think it's important to point out that Germany is by no means perfect. Like any place, it has its share of issues and downsides too. And, of course, it's true that Germany might not make the best fit for everyone. But if this video piques your interest about Germany, please check out my other videos that are geared towards people who are considering moving to or traveling to Germany. And before I go, let me also just say that I'm aware that there are people in the US who are unhappy staying there, but who simply can't leave or don't want to leave for a variety of reasons. I realize that, and I know that I'm very lucky that I had the chance to leave. So I'm really thankful for my good luck in being here every day. And I wish anyone who feels stuck right now all the best in finding a path to a better tomorrow. Okay, that's all for now. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again soon. Tschüss, bis später!